The rain hammered the Brooklyn brownstone like 1,000 tiny accusations, each drop accusing Elias of running again. He slammed the door of the Uptown Gallery, his sketchbook clutched under his arm like a shield, the curator's words still slicing through the downpour. It's raw, Elias, but it's unfinished. Like you. His boots splashed through puddles that mirrored the fractured city lights, carrying him blindly toward the subway, heart pounding with the kind of fury that only comes from loving something broken and watching it shatter anyway. But as the storm swallowed him whole, a single window glowed warm in the row of anonymous facades, next door to his crumbling walk-up, where shadows danced like secrets begging to be sketched. Elias Hawthorne had always painted to outrun the ghosts. At 24, with ink-stained fingers and a portfolio full of half-formed dreams, he was the kind of artist who chased light in the cracks of New York City's underbelly. Born in the Rust Belt hollows of Pittsburgh, he'd fled to Brooklyn 3 years ago on a whisper of promise, a scholarship to Pratt that fizzled into freelance gigs illustrating indie zines and the occasional mural for a coffee shop that paid in lattes. His canvases were riots of color masking the monochrome ache inside. The father who called his sketches fairy tales before disowning him at 17 for kissing a boy behind the high school bleachers. The mother who sent postcards from Reno and signed, like apologies she couldn't voice. Painting was his rebellion, his religion until tonight, when the gallery's rejection stripped it bare. He fumbled with his keys in the vestibule of his building on Atlantic Avenue, the one with the creaky stairs and the landlord who collected rent in crumpled 20s. The rain had soaked through his jacket, chilling him to the bone, and as he shook off the water like a stray dog, a faint melody drifted from the apartment next door. Violin strings, raw and weeping, cutting through the storm's roar. Elias froze, ear pressed to the peeling wallpaper. It wasn't the polished strains of a conservatory grad. This was jagged, intimate, like the player was unraveling thread by thread. He'd heard it before, faint echoes on quiet nights, but never this close, this alive. Curiosity, that old thief, pried his door open just a crack. The hallway light flickered, casting long shadows, and there, propped against the neighbor's door like a discarded prop, was a violin case. Black leather, scuffed at the edges, latch undone as if abandoned mid-flight. Elias's pulse quickened. He shouldn't, God. He knew better than to poke at strangers' wounds, but his fingers itched, the artist in him starving for a new muse. He knelt, tracing the case's worn surface, and that's when the door swung inward with a groan. The man in the doorway was a storm unto himself. Tall, lean, with shoulders that carried the weight of unspoken winters. His dark hair fell in unkempt waves over a face sharp as a switchblade, high cheekbones, a jaw set like it had forgotten how to soften. His eyes, a piercing blue that caught the dim bulb like fractured ice, locked onto Elias with a mix of wariness and weary amusement. He wore a threadbare sweater, sleeves pushed up to reveal forearms corded with veins and faint scars, like maps of battles long lost. The violin bow dangled from his right hand, horsehair frayed. "You the one always sketching at dawn?" the man said, voice low and gravelly, laced with a faint southern drawl that didn't belong in Brooklyn's concrete jungle. "Heard your pencil scratching through the wall." Like Morse code for the insomniacs, Elias straightened, heat flooding his cheeks despite the cold. Sorry. The music. It just stopped. He gestured lamely at the case, realizing too late how it must look, like he'd been rifling through a crime scene. The man's lips twitched, not quite a smile, Adam. Kessler. And it stops when the strings snap. He stepped aside, not inviting, but not closing the door either. Rain's biblical tonight. You look like you could use a dry corner. Elias hesitated, the curator's echo still stinging. But the pull was magnetic. Adam's presence a canvas begging for strokes of charcoal and confession. He crossed the threshold, dripping onto the hardwood, into a space that smelled of rosin and regret. The apartment was a mirror to his own chaos. Books stacked like barricades, sheet music yellowed and curling on every surface, a half-eaten takeout container from some forgotten Thai place. But in the corner, bathed in the glow of a single-floor lamp, stood a canvas Elias's breath caught. It wasn't a painting. It was a sketch, massive and unfinished, of a boy with eyes like storm clouds, violin tucked under his chin, bow midair as if frozen in flight. "You draw too?" Elias asked, voice barely above a whisper, drawn to it like a moth. Adam followed his gaze, tension coiling in his shoulders. "Used to." Before the hands shook too much, he flexed his fingers, the right one trembling faintly, a ghost of old injury. Fiddle's easier to hide the flaws. They talked then, halting at first, over mugs of instant coffee that tasted like regret. Adam was 31, a transplant from Nashville, where he'd been a session musician until a bar fight left him with a shattered wrist and a lawsuit that drained his savings. He'd washed up in Brooklyn 6 months ago, subletting this shoebox to figure shit out. But the words hung heavy, laced with the kind of evasion that screamed unfinished business. Elias shared fragments, his Pittsburgh scars, the gallery's fresh cut, omitting the deeper ones, the nights he woke gasping from dreams of his father's belt. By midnight, the rain had softened to a murmur, and Adam's bow found its strings again. He played without flourish, a lament that wove through the room like smoke, pulling at Elias's chest until tears blurred the sketch on the wall. When the last note faded, Adam set the violin down, eyes meeting Elias's in the hush. "Stay," he said simply, and it wasn't a question. Elias did. Curled on the lumpy couch as Adam dozed in the armchair, sketchbook open on his lap, he drew, not the man, but the space between them, the curve of a shadow, the angle of a sigh. For the first time in years, the ghosts retreated, just a little. Dawn crept in gray and forgiving, painting the skyline in hues of bruised lavender. Elias slipped out before Adam stirred, leaving a quick sketch on the coffee table, a violin string uncoiling into a phoenix's wing. Back in his apartment, he unpacked his easel, colors spilling like confessions. The rejection letter crumpled in the trash, but the hook was set. Next door wasn't just a neighbor. It was a door cracked open to something raw, something that might just mend the fractures if he dared to step through. Days blurred into a tentative rhythm. Elias's mornings began with the scratch of charcoal, afternoons lost to freelance deadlines that paid the rent but starved the soul. Evenings, though, belonged to the wall between them, thinner than paper, thick with possibility. A knock would come, or a note slid under the door, "Coffee's on. Bring the ghosts," and Elias would go, carrying sketches instead of baggage, trading stories over shared silences. Adam's apartment became a sanctuary of sorts, cluttered with relics from a life half-lived. Faded posters of Grand Ole Opry stages, a stack of demo tapes labeled in sharpest scrawl, a photo booth strip of a younger Adam grinning with a man whose arm slung possessively around his shoulders, both in faded denim, both gone now, judging by the dust. Elias never asked about the man in the photo, but he sketched him once. From memory, the lines tender and accusing. "You're good," Adam said one night, peering over Elias's shoulder as he captured the bow of a street lamp in watercolor. "Not just pretty lines. You see the ache in things." Elias flushed, brush pausing mid-stroke. "Comes from practice." "Or curse." Adam's laugh was rare, a rumble like distant thunder. "Curse sounds right. Mine's the strings, they call me back, even when I swear I'm done." He picked up the violin, drawing the bow across in a slow arpeggio that shivered the air. Elias watched, mesmerized, the way Adam's body leaned into the music, scars forgotten in the sway. That night, as the city hummed beyond the fire escape, their hands brushed, Elias reaching for a pencil, Adam for the rosin, and neither pulled away. Fingers laced tentative, calluses rough against soft skin, and in that touch, something ignited. Not fire, but embers warm, insistent, promising to spread if fanned. Weeks turned the embers to a steady glow, their worlds overlapping like wet paint on canvas. Elias's sketches migrated to Adam's walls, charcoal studies of arched doorways, oil sketches of rain-slicked stoops, each one a quiet claim on the space. Adam reciprocated with melodies, improvising folk tunes laced with jazz riffs that echoed Elias's chaotic hues. They cooked together, badly. Elias's attempt at gumbo from a Pinterest fail, Adam's Nashville hot chicken that set the smoke alarm wailing. Laughter filled the cracks, chasing out the loneliness that had ossified in both. But beneath the ease lurked shadows. Adam's hands trembled more on off nights, the violin slipping from grip like a betrayal. He cursed softly, southern vowels elongating the frustration, and Elias would take the instrument gently, holding it while Adam paced, ranting about the surgeon in Nashville who'd promised full recovery but delivered phantom pains instead. "It's like the music's punishing me," Adam confessed once, staring at his palms as if they were strangers. "For walking away." "From what?" Elias ventured, heart thudding. "They'd skirted the edges of truth, but never dove in." Adam's eyes darkened, the blue turning stormy. Everything that mattered. He didn't elaborate, and Elias didn't push, not yet. Instead, he pulled Adam close, their foreheads touching in the lamplight, breaths mingling like a shared secret. The kiss that followed was inevitable, soft at first, exploratory, lips tentative, tasting of black coffee and hesitation. Then deeper, Adam's hand cradling Elias's jaw, thumb tracing the line of his scar from a childhood fall. It was a kiss of survivors, hungry for redemption. After, they lay tangled on Adam's bed, the sheets a battlefield of rumpled cotton, talking in whispers until dawn. Adam spoke of Nashville's neon haze, the dive bars where he'd played for tips and dreams, the lover, Jude, who'd promised forever until the lawsuit hit, twisting their world into accusations and slammed doors. "He said I was reckless," Adam murmured, fingers tracing Elias's spine. Maybe he was right. But losing him carved something out. Elias shared his own hollows, the father's rage, the mother's silence, the parade of foster homes that taught him love was alone, always called due. "I paint to fill it," he admitted, voice cracking. "But the canvas never holds." Adam kissed his temple, fierce and grounding. "Then we'll fill each other." It was a vow, unspoken but binding, and for a while, it held. They ventured out together, stolen afternoons in Prospect Park, where Elias sketched the gnarled oaks and Adam hummed old Dylan covers. Evenings at dive bars in Williamsburg, nursing IPAs while locals eyed their intertwined hands with a mix of curiosity and indifference. New York, for all its grind, had carved out pockets of queer normalcy. The rainbow flags fluttering from brownstones, the drag brunches that spilled laughter onto sidewalks. Elias felt seen, not as the broken kid from Pittsburgh, but as whole, Adam's gaze a mirror reflecting back the man he could become. Yet the gallery loomed like a specter. Elias's next submission deadline crept closer, his studio a war zone of half-finished pieces, a triptych of fractured windows, symbolizing isolation, a portrait of Adam mid-bow, eyes closed in ecstasy, but the face blurred where vulnerability peeked through. "It's not ready," he told his reflection one morning, paint under his nails like blood. Adam found him there, slumped over the easel. "Show me." Reluctant, Elias unveiled the works. Adam circled them slowly, musician's ear attuned to the silent symphony of strokes and shades. "This," he said, tapping the blurred portrait, "it's honest. That's the ache, the beauty in the unfinished." Elias shook his head, doubt gnawing. "Honest doesn't sell. They want polish, not pain." "Then paint for us." Adam's voice was steel wrapped in silk. "Not them. Screw the curators." The words landed like grace, and that night, Elias reworked the canvas under Adam's watchful eye, sharpening the lines, infusing the blur with intention, turning fracture into focus. By week's end, the pieces went out, wrapped in brown paper and fragile hope. The acceptance came via email on a Tuesday, as Elias balanced a tray of falafel from the halal cart. "Solo show," the message read. 3 weeks. "We're seeing the rawness now," he whooped, nearly toppling the cart, and sprinted home to tell Adam who wasn't there. The apartment door hung ajar, violin case open on the floor, sheets music scattered like confetti from a funeral. Panic clawed Elias's throat. "Adam," no answer. A note on the fridge, scrawled in haste, "Nashville calls. Old debt. Back soon. Don't wait up." No signature, no tenderness, just absence, sharp as a snapped string. Elias sank to the floor, the email's joy curdling to ash. He'd glimpsed the photo booth strip weeks ago, but now it mocked from the mantel, Jude's arm around Adam, both laughing. Was this the old debt? A ghost pulling Adam back into the life he'd fled? Days stretched into a taut wire. Elias texted, "Miss you. Show's on. Come see." But replies were ghosts, busy. "Congrats." He painted through the hurt, furious strokes layering over the portrait until Adam's face vanished under cobalt and crimson. Neighbors nodded in passing, oblivious to the void next door. But Elias heard the echoes, faint violin strains from a radio, the drip of a faucet like unshed tears. On the 10th day, he cracked. Pounding on Adam's door yielded silence, but the knob turned, unlocked, a careless invitation or deliberate lure. Inside, the air hung stale, dust motes dancing in slants of afternoon sun. Drawers ajar, clothes half-packed in a duffel by the bed. Elias's heart plummeted. He rifled gently, not invasion, but desperation, finding a crumpled letter in the waste bin, Nashville postmark. "Adam, Jude's gone. Cancer took him last month. But the labels circling want that last album we cut. Come home." Make it right. M. The words blurred through Elias's tears. Jude dead. The debt, a eulogy. A pullback to bury the past. But why hide? Why run without a word? He waited then, sketchbook open on Adam's couch, drawing the room's abandonment. The empty bow stand, the shadowed corner where they'd first kissed. Twilight fell, streetlights blooming like accusations, when the door creaked. Adam stood there, hollowed, eyes red-rimmed, duffel slung over shoulder. Elias. Shit. I didn't. You did. Elias rose, voice steady despite the quake. You left a note like we were roommates. Like this. He gestured between them. The air thick with hurt. Was disposable. Adam dropped the bag, shoulders slumping. Jude's funeral. The label. It's all crashing back. And I didn't want to drag you under. Drag me? Elias's laugh was bitter. You think I can't swim? That I'm some fragile sketch you can crumple? Adam crossed the room in 2 strides, hands hovering before cupping Elias's face. You're the first thing that's felt real in years. That's why I ran, to protect it. Their kiss was collision fierce, forgiving, teeth and tears. Adam's tremble wasn't the hand's fault this time. It was the heart's. Stay, Elias whispered against his neck. Paint the pain with me. Adam nodded, duffel forgotten. But the shadows lingered, a prelude to the storm brewing beyond the brownstone's walls. The solo show loomed like a beacon in the fog of reconciliation. 3 weeks to transform hurt into art. Elias Dove in his studio, a corner of the living room partitioned by drop cloths, becoming a battlefield of creation. Canvases multiplied. One of Adam's scarred hand cradling the violin, veins like rivers carving through clay, another of their fire escape perch, city lights blurring into a constellation of what-ifs. Adam hovered at the edges, bow in hand, composing fragments that wove into Elias's rhythms, a slow adagio for the quieter pieces, a frenetic jig for the raw ones. You're turning ghosts into gold, Adam said one evening, as Elias stepped back from a near-complete triptych. 3 panels depicting a figure emerging from shadow, bow becoming brush, isolation yielding to embrace. Elias wiped sweat from his brow, paint flecking his lashes. Ours, mostly. Yours bleeding into mine. Adam's smile was tentative, but his touch, fingers grazing Elias's waist, was sure. They made love then, slow and reverent, bodies mapping the territories they'd only sketched before. No rush, no conquest, just the quiet miracle of skin on skin, breaths sinking like a duet. Afterward, curled in the sheets, Adam traced the freckles across Elias's chest. Jude hated galleries. Said art was for the gut, not the wallet. Elias propped on elbow, studying the play of moonlight on Adam's jaw. And you? What do you hate? The question hung, heavy. Adam's gaze drifted to the window, rain pattering like impatient fingers. Losing control. The stage lights, the crowds, they amplify everything. One wrong note, and its echo chamber of failure. Elias nodded, understanding the artist's terror all too well. Then we'll keep it small. Just us. The walls. No spotlights, but spotlights found them anyway. The gallery, a sleek space in Chelsea called Fracture and Forge, buzzed with pre-show hype. Elias's name, modest, unassuming, appeared in art blogs, whispers of raw queer narrative, drawing collectors from Manhattan's gilded cages. Invites piled up, a critic from the Village Voice, a curator scouting for MoMA's emerging voices. Elias fielded them with polite deflection. But inside, the old Pittsburgh boy quaked. What if they saw through the paint to the boy who'd once hidden love letters in his mattress? Adam sensed it, anchoring him with late-night walks along the East River, where fairies cut wakes like silver scars. "You're not performing," he'd say, hand warm in Elias's. "You're sharing." Big difference. The night before the opening, they rehearsed in Adam's apartment, Elias pacing monologues about each piece, Adam improvising soundscapes on violin. It was intimate, electric, until a knock shattered the spell. Adam froze, bow midair. "Expected?" Elias asked, pulse quickening. Adam shook his head, setting the instrument down. The door opened to a woman in her 50s, sharp bob and sharper eyes, clutching a manila envelope. "Adam Kessler? From Nashville?" Adam's face drained of color. "Lila." "What the?" "Label sent me. That album, Jude's last. They need your sign-off." And she glanced at Elias, praising. "The execs want a live set. Reunion tour vibe. Big money." Adam's laugh was hollow. "Reunion? Jude's dead. Lila. And I'm done chasing ghosts for chump change." Her eyes softened, just a fraction. "It's not chump. It's closure. For you, for the fans." He left notes, "Wanted you on that track." She thrust the envelope forward. "Read it. Sleep on it." She left with a nod, the air thickening in her wake. Elias waited, but Adam crumpled the envelope unopened, hurling it into the corner. Bullshit. All of it. That night, sleep evaded them. Elias lay awake, listening to Adam's uneven breaths, the violin case a sentinel by the bed. By morning, the envelope was gone, slipped into Adam's jacket pocket, a secret weight. The opening was a whirlwind of clinking glasses and murmured critiques. Elias stood in black jeans and a button-down rolled at the sleeves, paint still faint under his nails, greeting strangers who dissected his soul on canvas. "Vulnerable," they cooed. "Intimate." Adam lingered at the periphery, nursing a seltzer, his presence a talisman against the vertigo. Then, the voice critic cornered them, a wiry man named Theo with a notebook and a predatory grin. "The hands motif, personal? Lover's touch." Elias faltered, but Adam stepped forward, arm slipping around his waist. "His hands," Adam said, voice steady. "They heal what mine can't." The words landed like a vow, drawing nods and scribbles. Later, in a quiet alcove, Elias pulled Adam close. "That was brave." Adam's kiss was fierce. "Truth is," sales trickled in, 2 pieces to a tech bro in Dumbo, 1 to a queer collective uptown. By closing, the gallery hummed with possibility. Talks of a follow-up show, a residency in the Hudson Valley. Elias floated home on champagne and adrenaline, Adam's hand in his a lifeline. But dawn brought the fracture. Adam was gone again, duffel packed, a note this time etched with care, going to Nashville. "For Jude. For us, need to end it clean. Love." The envelope's ghost haunted the words, closure twisted into abandonment. Elias's rage was a quiet inferno. He stormed next door, keys jangling like accusations, but the space echoed empty, drawers bare, walls stripped of his sketches, the massive boy with violin gone. Only the photo booth strip remained, pinned to the fridge, Jude's grin a taunt. He called. Texts flooding, you promised. This is betrayal. No reply. The show's afterglow soured to isolation. Canvases mocking from the studio. Friends, sparsely scattered. A barista named Mia from the coffee shop gigs urged patience. Artists run. It's our love language, but patience curdled to despair. Elias painted through it. Furious abstracts. Crimson slashes for the hurt. Indigo voids for the silence. Weeks passed. Brooklyn's autumn leaves turning to rot underfoot, mirroring the decay inside. Then, package arrived, brown paper, Nashville postmark. Inside, the violin, rest-rung and gleaming, with a letter. Elias, Jude's notes were lies. Label wanted leverage, but I played anyway. One night, for him. For me. It broke something and fixed it. Coming home. The music's yours now. Wait for me. Adam, relief warred with wariness. Elias rest-wrung the bow himself, drawing shaky notes that sobbed through the apartment. Hope flickered, fragile as a fresh stroke. Adam returned on a freight train wind, knocking soft at dusk. He looked gaunt, eyes haunted, but whole, violin case in hand. No duffel this time. Forgive me? He asked, voice cracking. Elias pulled him inside, the door slamming like punctuation. Only if you stay. They clung then, bodies and souls, the violin forgotten on the floor. But the scars, Jude's ghost, the label's pull lurked, waiting for the next storm. Winter clamped Brooklyn in its iron grip, snow blanketing the brownstones like a shroud over their fragile peace. Adam stayed, true to his word, folding back into Elias's life with the quiet determination of a man who'd stared down his demons and chosen light. Mornings found them tangled in Elias's narrower bed, breaths fogging the window panes as they watched the city stir. Afternoons were divided, Elias at the easel, chasing commissions that trickled in post-show book covers for a queer memoir press, murals for a Bed-Stuy community center, while Adam pieced together gigs, teaching violin to wide-eyed kids in a Queens rec center, his tremble masked by patience. Evenings wove them tighter, shared suppers of canned soup doctored with scavenged herbs, Adam's bow duetting with Elias's humming as they washed dishes side by side. The violin found its way into Elias's art, a series of small oils, instruments anthropomorphized with human longings, a cello weeping oil tears, a flute exhaling city smoke. Adam posed for one, nude from the waist up, scars bared like invitations. Paint the truth, he urged, and Elias did, layers building vulnerability into valor. Yet the idol cracked under subtle pressures. Adam's phone buzzed with Nashville ghosts, Lila's updates on the album's release, vague offers of session work. He'd silence it, but Elias saw the flicker, temptation's shadow in those blue eyes. It's nothing, Adam insisted, but the lie hung, thin as winter light. Elias's own burdens mounted. The Hudson residency offer materialized. A month in a converted barn upstate, all expenses paid, solitude for the muse. Go, Adam encouraged, masking the strain. Your wings, Elias. Spread 'em, but doubt gnawed. Could they survive distance? The Pittsburgh boy whispered of abandonment. The artist craved the anchor. They argued softly one night, over cooling stir-fry. It's not forever, Elias said. Just space to breathe. Adam's jaw tightened. Space is what I gave Jude. Look where it led. The words landed like frostbite. Elias recoiled. This isn't that. You're not losing me. I'm choosing US by choosing me. Adam's apology was immediate, arms pulling Elias close. Scared shitless. That's all. They made up in the sheets. Touches tender, reaffirming. But the seed of fracture took root. Elias departed in early March, the residency a balm of rolling hills and endless sky. The barn studio smelled of pine and possibility, canvases unfurling like breaths held too long. He painted feverishly, landscapes infused with memory, Brooklyn spires piercing verdant horizons, Adam's silhouette etched in the horizon line. Letters flew between them, thick with longing. Adam scrawled on sheet music, Elias's illustrated with marginalia sketches. Miss your chaos, Adam wrote. The apartment's too quiet without your swears at the turpentine. Midway through, a call shattered the reverie. Mia, breathless, Elias, Adam's in trouble. Bar fight. Cops. Something about a Nashville guy showing up. Heart plummeting. Elias drove through the night, Hudson fog giving way to urban glare. The precinct reeked of stale coffee and regret. Adam sat in holding, lips split, knuckles raw. What happened? Elias demanded, once bailed and in the cab home. Adam stared out at the blur of lights. X from the label. Drunk, mouthing off about Jude's legacy, said I owed him the tour. Swung first, Elias's stomach twisted. And you, defended. Poorly, Adam's laugh was mirthless. Old habits, home, under the harsh kitchen fluorescence. Truth spilled. The Nashville man, Ricky, Jude's cousin, had arrived unannounced, envelope in hand, a contract for a memorial tour, Jude's vocals layered over new tracks, Adam's violin the hook. Big payout, Adam admitted, eyes downcast. Enough to fix the wrist for good. Surgery I couldn't afford. Elias's world tilted. You didn't say, didn't want to choose. You or us. Fury rose. Hot. This is betrayal, Adam. Hiding it, fighting for it. You're running again. Adam's face crumpled. Not running. Fixing. For us, to give you the life you deserve. Not this scraping by bullshit. Elias paced, grief warring with anger. I don't need fixing. I need you here. Honest. He stopped, voice breaking. Or is Jude still the melody you can't quit? The slap of silence stung worse than any blow. Adam recoiled as if struck. That's low. Is it true? Adam gathered his jacket. Movements wooden. Need air. The door clicked shut, leaving Elias in the echo. Days blurred into standoff. Adam crashed at a friend's. Texts Kurt. At Mia's. Sorting. Elias returned to the studio, but the brushes felt leaden. Colors muted. He called the residency coordinator, extending his stay space. After all, had its bite. Then, the bomb. A package from Nashville. Forwarded. Inside, a demo CD labeled Jude and Adam. Eternal strings, and a press release announcing the tour. Adam's name in bold. Release date, next month. No note, but the implication screamed, choice made. Elias's rage crested. He drove to Mia's, pounding until Adam appeared, disheveled, eyes bloodshot. You signed. Elias thrust the release forward. Adam scanned it, paling. What the I didn't. Ricky must have forged. Lies, Elias shouted, voice raw. First the envelope. Now this? I'm done chasing your half-truths. Adam grabbed his arm, desperate. Elias, listen. No. Elias wrenched free, tears hot. You choose the tour, or you choose us. But decide now. Adam's silence was the verdict. Elias walked into the night, snow flurrying like ash, heart a canvas slashed beyond repair. Back at the barn, isolation deepened the wound. Elias painted his pain, abstracts of shattered strings, figures turning from each other in endless gray. Mia called with updates, Adam denying the contract, lawyering up, but trust, once cracked, leaked out. Weeks later, a knock echoed through the studio. Adam stood on the porch, snow-dusted, violin case in hand like an olive branch. I chose you, he said, voice hoarse. Tore it up. Told them to fuck off, with royalties for Jude's family. Elias searched his face, seeking the lie. None. But the scar remained. Why believe you now? Adam knelt, pulling a sheaf of papers, legal docs, signed and notarized, severing ties. Because I'm done running. From Nashville, from Jude, from this fear you'll leave if I'm not whole. Elias pulled him up, their embrace fierce against the cold. Then heal with me. No secrets. Spring thawed the city as they thawed, tentative. But the betrayal's echo lingered, a dissonance in their duet, building toward the inevitable crescendo. April bloomed riotous in Brooklyn, cherry blossoms carpeting the sidewalks like confetti from a half-forgotten parade. Elias and Adam rebuilt brick by careful brick, therapy sessions in a sunlit office off Flatbush, where Adam unpacked the wrist's trauma and Jude's ghost. Joint sketches where Elias guided Adam's hand over paper, turning tremors into deliberate lines. The violin sang again, not in bars but in their living room, lullabies for the healing. Elias's art flourished in the fertile soil of forgiveness. A new series emerged, duets in minor key, canvases of intertwined forms, bow and brush, scar and stroke, exploring love's fragile architecture. Galleries circled, but he held firm, exhibiting at a queer art co-op in Bushwick, walls alive with stories like theirs. Adam attended every opening, bow tucked under arm like a talisman, his presence a quiet anthem. Yet the past was a persistent stalker. Ricky resurfaced via email, veiled threats of unreleased tracks leaking, whispers of lawsuits over abandoned commitments. Adam showed Elias immediately, no shadows. We'll fight it, Elias said, resolve stealing. They consulted a pro bono lawyer from the co-op, a fierce dyke named Lena who drafted cease and desists with the precision of a scalpel. Summer simmered in, heat waves turning the brownstone into a sweatbox. They escaped to Coney Island one sticky afternoon, boardwalk thrumming with laughter and salt air. Adam won Elias a lopsided stuffed bear at the ring toss, crowning him with a greasy kiss amid the cyclone's roar. My king, Adam teased, and Elias laughed, free, unscarred for a breath. But conflict brewed domestic, subtle. Adam's gigs expanded, a standing slot at a jazz den in the village, kids clamoring for lessons. Pride swelled in Elias, but envy crept, the late nights, the admirers' lingering glances. You're glowing, Elias said one evening, over rooftop beers as fireworks cracked for the 4th. Adam's brow furrowed. Jealous? Of your light? Never. But the lie tasted bitter. Elias's commission slowed, a dry spell that mocked his vulnerability. Self-doubt whispered, he's outgrowing you. The breaking point came in July, humidity thick as regret. Adam returned from a lesson flushed, recounting a prodigy's breakthrough. Kids got fire. Elias reminds me of you. But the casual intimacy stung. Elias reading volumes into the glow. That night, over half-eaten pizza, it erupted. You're pulling away, Elias accused, voice pitched low. The music's got you again, Nashville's echo. Adam set down his slice, eyes flashing. This again? I'm here, every damn day. Physically, Elias's hands shook, echoing Adam's old tremor. But your head's on stage, with ghosts or prodigies or whatever pulls harder than us. Adam stood, chair scraping. And you're suffocating, every sketch a referendum on my loyalty. I chose you, Elias. Stop making me prove it. The words landed like a bow snap. Elias flinched. Then go. If it's chokehold or freedom. Adam's face twisted, pain raw. Don't make me the villain. Not again. He stormed out, violin case slamming the door. Elias collapsed on the couch, sobs racking, the apartment cavernous. Hours later, a text, at the park. Need space. Love you. Space yawned into abyss. Elias wandered the streets, ghosts of Pittsburgh mingling with Brooklyn's bustle, drag queens hawking zines, vendors slinging iced horchatas. He ended at the river, watching ferries slice the dark, contemplating the jump he'd never take. His therapist's voice echoed. But alone, dawn found him home, Adam on the stoop, head in hands. Couldn't sleep, Adam admitted, voice gravel. Scared I'd lost you for good. Elias sank beside him, exhaustion bonding. Me too. But we're poison like this, poking wounds till they fester. Adam nodded, taking his hand. Therapy. Together. And boundaries. Music's mine, art's yours, but the bridge is us. Renewal sparked, tentative. They attended couples sessions, unpacking the betrayal's residue. Adam's fear of engulfment from Jude's possessiveness, Elias's abandonment terror from his father's purge. Laughter returned in fits, burnt pancakes on lazy Sundays, violin duets with Elias on makeshift percussion, spoons and pots. August brought vindication. Lena's letter arrived, Ricky's threats quashed, royalties secured for Jude's estate. Adam donated half to a music scholarship. For kids like that prodigy, he said, eyes on Elias. Breaking cycles. Elias's dry spell broke too. A major commission for a pride mural downtown. Murals of intertwined hands scaling skyscrapers. Adam sketched preliminary lines with him, their collaboration a harmony. But harmony's fragile. Fall winds carried omens. A call from Adam's mother, first in years. Voice frail over static. Your daddy's sick, son. Needs you. Nashville again. The pull inexorable. Adam hung up, face ashen. Cancer. Same as Jude. Elias's heart clenched. Go. But come back. Adam's nod was vow. Always. He left for a week. Returning quieter. Resolve hardened. Forgave what I could. Buried the rest. They mourned together. Adam's bow keening a dirge. Elias's canvas capturing wilted magnolias. October's leaves turned, mirroring their deepening roots. A joint project brewed. An installation for the co-op. Echoes unstrung. Elias's paintings scored by Adam's compositions, exploring love's fractures and mends. Rehearsals filled nights with creation's fire, touches lingering, kisses deepening into promises. Yet, as opening neared, a shadow fell. Anonymous emails to the co-op. Adam Kessler, thief of melodies, heartbreaker. Attached. Demos from the forged album. Jude's voice haunting. Sabotage. Ricky's venom or a fan's grudge. Panic gripped. Cancel. Elias whispered. Gallery lights harsh on their faces. Adam's jaw set. No. We own this, our story, not theirs. The night arrived. Space packed with allies. Mia toasting. Lena glaring down detractors. Whispers swirled. But the art held. Canvases pulsing with truth. Violins cry a catharsis. A critic cornered Adam post said, "The pain, it's lived in." Adam glanced at Elias. Mid-conversation with collectors. Lived through. With him. After. In the green room's hush. They collapsed together. Adrenaline crashing to intimacy. We survived. Elias breathed. Adam's kiss sealed it. We thrive. But survival's price lingered. An undercurrent pulling toward the final test. November's chill seeped into bones. But their fire burned steady. Echoes unstrung drew raves. Village voice hailing it as a queer symphony of scars and salvation. Collectors snapping up prints like talismans. Royalties from Jude's estate padded their savings. Enough for a shared studio space in a Bushwick warehouse. High ceilings. North light flooding blank walls. A corner for sheet music beside the easel. Life settled into a cadence both foreign and fitting. Mornings. Coffee brewed black. Adam practicing scales while Elias roughed thumbnails. Afternoons. Divergent paths. Adam's lessons expanding to a youth ensemble. Elias mentoring at Pratt. Passing the torch to wide-eyed freshmen. Evenings. Communal. Weather cooking experiments. Adam's ill-fated biscuits and gravy, or fire escape vigils. City sprawl a canvas of twinkling confessions. Intimacy deepened. Not in grand gestures but quiet revolutions. Adam learning to braid Elias's hair after a shower. Fingers steady now with practice. Elias composing word portraits. Reading them aloud as Adam bowed accompaniment. Odes to the curve of a collarbone. The lilt of a drawl. Vulnerability became vernacular. No topic barred. Adam's buried rage at his father's homophobia. Elias's lingering shame from Foster shuffles. Winter solstice approached. Brooklyn aglow with twinkling strands and mulled wine markets. They planned a ritual, burning effigies of old wounds in a backyard fire pit borrowed from Mia. Jude's photo booth strip. Elias's father's belt buckle facsimile. Ricky's demo CD. Flames devoured. Smoke curling skyward like released breaths. To ashes, Adam toasted, arm around Elias. To embers, Elias replied, clinking mugs. But embers flare. Christmas Eve. A blizzard blanketed the city, trapping them indoors. Cozied with cocoa and a dog-eared copy of Giovanni's Room. They traded stories. Adam's first crush on a barn dance fiddler. Elias's clandestine sketches of the high school quarterback. Laughter wove to longing. Bodies aligning in the lamplight. Touches mapping familiar terrains with renewed wonder. Mid-January. Opportunity knocked. A joint residency in the Berkshires. 2 months in a converted mill. Funded by a foundation scouting collaborative queer voices. Acceptance email pinged during breakfast. Adam's whoop echoing off walls. Us, he said. spinning Elias in a waltz. Against the world or with it, they packed light, leaving the studio to Mia's watchful eye, driving north through snow-draped pines. The mill creaked with history, wheelhouse overlooking a frozen stream, studios adjoining like conjoined hearts. Days dissolved into creation. Elias's large-scale murals of sonic waves crashing into visual tempests, Adam's compositions layering field recordings of wind and water with violin laments. Nights. Feasts of local cheeses and debates over Baldwin versus Wolfe. Bodies entwined under quilts thick as promises. Midway, conflict stirred, not theirs, but external. A fellow resident, a poet named Theo, no relation to the critic, but irony bit, fixated on Adam's tragic southern aura. Flirtations escalated, lingering workshop critiques, accidental brushes in the communal kitchen. Elias seethed quietly at first, old envy flaring, but confronted gently over tea. He's harmless, Adam dismissed, but Elias's eyes pleaded truth. Harmless ignores hurt, Elias said. And I'm tired of swallowing. Adam pulled him close. Then spit it. You're my center, no orbit strays. Theo backed off after a pointed talk, residency humming on. But the ripple exposed a deeper vein, Elias's fear of dilution, Adam's guilt over past indiscretions, a Nashville fling post-Jude, confessed in therapy. They journaled it out, parallel entries read aloud by firelight, turning poison to ink. Spring unfurled as they emerged, works in progress trailing like breadcrumbs. Back in Brooklyn, the city welcomed with cherry reblooms and subway symphonies. Their collaboration culminated in a gala at the Co-op Mill Echoes, an immersive exhibit, paintings projected with live scoring, visitors wandering a labyrinth of light and sound. Crowds swelled, patrons in bespoke suits, activists with pins proclaiming solidarity, friends toasting with craft ciders. Midway, Adam took the mic, bow poised. This, he said, nodding to Elias amid the projections, is what healing sounds like. Not silence. Not perfection. As flawed, fierce, forever, the set wove their souls. A crescendo of chaos resolving to harmony. Violin's cry met by canvas's sigh. Applause thundered, but Elias heard only Adam's final note, lingering like a held breath. After, in the warehouse's hush, they danced slow, sock-footed to phantom strings. We made it, Elias murmured, cheek to chest. Adam's hand cradled his head. And keep making. Years folded forward. The warehouse became home. Studio walls papered with their evolutions. Elias's galleries mounting retrospectives. Adam's ensemble touring schools, planting seeds in soil once barren. They adopted a mutt named Stray, all wiry affection and sloppy kisses, hosted Thanksgivings for chosen family, Mia's pies the centerpiece. Betrayals faded to footnotes, conflicts to growth rings. Nathan, Elias's chosen middle name, reclaimed in a quiet ceremony, wove into their narrative. A godson from the ensemble, dark-haired and curious, sketching violins at age 5. Uncle Adam says music's magic, he'd declare, and Adam would nod, eyes on Elias. Art too, kid. Together, unstoppable. One autumn eve, years on, they stood on the fire escape, grayer, lines etched like brushwork, watching a sunset bleed the skyline. Adam's hand, steady now, laced with Elias's. Regrets. Elias leaned in, kiss soft as dusk. None. You, the mystery next door, were my healing. Adam's smile crinkled eyes. And you, my canvas. The city hummed below, a symphony of starts and stumbles. But up there, in the bridge between, they were whole, two souls, once fractured, fused in the quiet revolution of love's enduring stroke.